I'm Ellie Chowns. I'm the Green Party councillor for Bishopsfroom and Cradley ward in the east of the county, and I represent about 2,500 electors. Why did I become a councillor? Well, basically I wanted to do something practical. I thought it was time to get involved in politics. I've been involved in campaigns, environment campaigns, those sorts of things for years, but I thought that I couldn't just keep on shouting at the radio about things that I didn't agree with. I should get involved and try and do something practical about them. So I joined the Green Party only a few years ago and threw myself into that type of activism really. And so standing for election as a councillor was a logical extension of wanting to make a difference in politics.
My name's Marcel Lloyd-Hayes. I'm the councillor for Ayleston Hill ward and I represent about 7,500 people. Well, initially I stood for the City Council, which is a parish council, and it's a very good way of getting your teeth into politics. It's not as awe-inspiring as being on the county council. You deal with a lot more local things. It's not things like social services and education. However, it's a very, very good way of meeting the public, and their concerns come to you and you deal with it on a smaller level.
So I'm Trish Marsh, I'm councillor for Leominster South, one of 4 Leominster councillors, and that covers about 3,000 people. I was asked to, and yes, I found it a rewarding thing to do. It is quite time consuming as well. Yeah, no, I think I've always been interested in how decisions get made, and I think it's very important that we do have people involved in how public money is spent. I think that's really vital, and I guess after a bit I'm just going, oh, well perhaps that means I better give it a go.
My name is Peter Ginman. I'm the independent councillor for Golden Valley South, which is a ward on the south part of the county bordering right up to the Black Mountains, and it includes 5 parish councils, and some of those are group parish councils. I became a local councillor because I was asked. Various people said to me, Peter, why don't you become our councillor? Why don't you put yourself forwards? And I was indeed approached by different parties on the current council, and they asked me if I would be willing to do so. And I chose to be an independent because I'm not a great fan of there being political parties in local government. I'm a great believer in trying to get people with knowledge and background who can deal with the issues and do so in the best and pragmatic way.
Okay, my name is Alyssa Swinglehurst. I represent Langowan ward, and the 2011 census, there are about 3,300 people living in that ward. I have to say right now, it was really not my intention to become a local councillor, but I'm the sort of person that I do get involved in local activities. I get involved with the village hall, with the church. I think it's a really important part of living, particularly in a rural county, that you get involved and you support your community. So I got involved with the parish council, the Welsh Newton and Lamrothal Parish Council, where I live, and I've been on that parish council for 8 or so years. Got to know the then county councillor, and she suggested that I might like to have a go at being the county councillor. Over the 8 or 9 years when I've been on the parish council, obviously I've had a lot to do with the county council. I've had a lot of experience of you know, the feelings of frustration of why can't you get a pothole fixed, or why can't you get the council to do something. So I thought, right, good, this is an opportunity to go up to the county level and see what I can do there for my community, for the wider community then of the Langowan ward, which goes from Lamrothal in the west over to just beyond Selleck to the east, which is it's a very big rural ward. Once I got elected, I realised quite how beneficial that had been, because I was able to, I already knew so much. I already knew a lot about planning. I already knew a lot about how the county council works. I also knew how to behave with the parish councils. I have 6 now in the ward. I attend all of their meetings, and it was very helpful to already have that sense of how to relate to them, how to work with them, how to support them, and what it is that they would need from me, because I'd already seen it from the other side. So absolutely I would recommend it 100%. It's a great well, it's a great way of working with your community for a start, but actually it's a great way of getting a background on how local government works at the bottom rung of the ladder, which would feed, it's consistently fed all the way through.
I'm Councillor Polly Andrews and I represent Widemarsh Ward, which is in the city of Hereford and which includes in its area the Newmarket Shopping Centre, Heineken, known to us all I think as Bulmers, and Sun Valley, now rechristened Avara, amongst other areas. I was asked. There's a story behind it. My late husband, who was a GP, was elected to Hereford City Council, which was a district council in those days, and I was not best pleased with him for standing because he worked a 14-hour day as it was, and I thought I'll never see him. Anyway, after about 2 months, I was invited to some sort of civic function. I sat next to an elderly lady. I got no idea who she was. And I just remarked to her, they seem to be a bit short of women on this council. 2 months later, she rang me up and said, there's a by-election. Now's the time to put your money where your mouth is. So I did. That was 22 years ago. I think one of them was, apart from the lack of women on the then Hereford City Council, was my late husband, as a planning committee, he was on the planning committee, made a planning decision with which I profoundly disagreed. So I thought the only way to get there is to become a councillor yourself in the end.
My name is Paul Rowan. I am the councillor, elected member for Red Hill, which is in the south of the city of Hereford. It is the largest ward in the whole county, only by population. There's about 3,800 of us live there. And I have a cabinet responsibility, which is for adults' health and well-being and housing. I became a councillor. I was the original Mr. Angry. My ward is where I live. And I didn't like things that were going on. I didn't like the fact that there was always problems with grass being cut. There was always problems with litter being picked up. There was certain areas coming up for sale that I thought, my goodness, that is exactly where we should be buying as a local authority. And in those days, I was a little bit naive about how things worked. So I started banging the table, banging the drum, speaking, and I engaged my local councillors. And at the time, it was the St Martin's and Hinton ward. There were 3 councillors there. I spoke to all of them. And so I was encouraged, well, do something about it. If you think you can do better, stand yourself. So I did. And I got elected.